We were talking about people having the ability to choose how to end their own life in the face of something terminal, for example. And within that conversation, I discussed my stepmother and my father both going through hospice at the end of their life. My stepmother was on home hospice. She passed at home. My father wound up going to the Joliet area hospice facility, not too far from here. And this person came into the comment section and said, "Yeah, man, those hospice folks are precious. They're more than precious. They're invaluable. They are absolutely invaluable." From the moment my stepmother passed to the moment my father passed, which is about 4 years, the 8 days that he was in the Joliet hospice facility were probably the eight most relaxing and enjoyable days of that 4 year stretch for him. He didn't have to worry about what ailment they were going to find next. He didn't have to worry about what surgery he was going to have to undergo next. He didn't have to worry about what test he was going to have to undergo next. He didn't have to worry about worry about continuing to take his medication. He didn't he didn't have to think about it anymore. He made the decision to go to the hospice center. He said he was gonna be an amputee. Right? They were gonna take one of his legs at the knee, and they were gonna take on the other leg they were gonna take his foot, and he was gonna be bedridden. And for 30, 40 years, he had every ailment you could possibly imagine, right? He was an insulin dependent diabetic. He had to do his own dialysis here in this room every day. He had two heart attacks and a stroke. He was on a second pacemaker. He had prostate cancer. They found cancer on one of his kidneys and removed it. They found cancer on his other kidney and froze it. He had a gallstone blow out part of his pancreas. He wound up having the Whipple surgery. That's what kicked off all of his ailments. He had high blood pressure. He was on fluid intake restriction, salt intake restrictions. You fucking name it, he had it, right? And then when they told him he was going to be an amputee and probably be in a bed at a nursing home for the remainder of what life he had left, he went, "Fuck you. Fuck you, I'm not doing that. I did everything you asked me to do. I took every pill you asked me to take. I limited my fluid, I limited my salt, I limited my sugar. I cheated from time to time, yeah, but I did it all for fucking 3.5, 4 decades. I went to every fucking doctor's visit. Took every fucking test. I let you cut parts out of me. And now you're telling me at the end of all that, after doing all of that, I'm going to be a bedridden amputee? Fuck you. Take me off my pills and put me on hospice." And they did. He signed the paperwork. They sent him to the Joliet area hospice facility from the emergency room, where they were talking to him about all of this. And 8 days later, he was gone. And for the first 4 or 5 days, he was conscious and could speak and could feed himself and all of that. And it was the most relaxed I've ever seen the man. It was the most relaxed. I watched that man be miserable in his first marriage to my mother. I watched him be miserable in his second marriage to my first stepmother. And then I watched him be happy in his third marriage, but because he was still working his ass off and because he had all of these ailments, it made for a miserable life. And then he watched his wife die slowly in their bed from pancreatic cancer. And then he was alone. He had us, but you know what I mean. He was alone for the last 4 years of his life. And the happiest I ever saw him was when he was in hospice. Because he knew we didn't have to worry about any of it anymore. He knew he didn't have to go see any more doctors. He didn't have to worry about tests. It was all going to be over soon. And my old man was not really a religious man. I don't think he was necessarily a true believer. But I think that there was a part of him that was like, it's going to be over soon, and I'm going to be back with my wife. And as somebody who has watched grandparents die, aunts and uncles die, and his parents die, I'm going to tell you that it is shit. Absolute dog shit. That we have to wait until we're at the fucking end. And we have these, and I'm going to use a term that I don't use because I'm not a believer. We have these fucking angels that work at hospice facilities and with hospice in general that make our loved ones so comfortable at the end of their life that it's the happiest we've ever seen them. It's the most at peace we've ever seen them. It's the most comfortable and relaxed we've ever seen them. You shouldn't have to wait until the end of your life when you're being cared for by somebody in your death to be that comfortable. And one of the things that my father asked me at the emergency room when they told him he was going to be bedridden and you were going to be in a nursing home and that's just the way that's going to be. And he said, fuck you. One of the things he asked me is he turned to me and he said, basically what I told you guys. I took all the pills they told me to take, Tommy. I put that fucking fluid through my body every day. I shot myself up with insulin. I took all the fucking pills they asked me to take. For 3.5 decades, 35, 40 years, I took all of the medication they ever told me I had to take. Why can't I take one more pill and be done? And as his son, I couldn't answer the question. I couldn't answer my father why we live in a society that treats their fucking pets better than they do their elderly. Because when my dog was at the end of his life and I didn't want him to suffer anymore, we gave him a shot. It was over. Couldn't do that with my dad. I couldn't answer my dying father's question. I couldn't fulfill my dying father's request because society says that's immoral. We can't do that. People that work at hospice, I don't know if this comment's going to carry through because this is a much longer video. The people that work at hospice are more than precious. They're vital